The censorship plan for the 2024 presidential election is already underway, even though the tone from the White House seems to be changing if we're talking about particular individuals. It's recently come out that the Biden administration is strongly considering a request from Australia to drop charges against Julian Assange. As many of you already know, Assange is the founder of Wikileaks, a website that's considered a whistleblower, as it's said to have published more than 10 million documents that include confidential or restricted official reports. He's opened a new world for many of us that have revealed that our own government and some of its agencies may have been spying on American citizens. Which brings me to the Presidential Act, a bill that is supposed to protect journalists from the federal government when it comes to disclosing protected information. This means that our journalists won't be compelled to reveal sources, records, documents, contents of communication, or information that they've obtained through their course of their work. The only exception is if it's related to the prevention of terrorism or immediate violence. Now, you would think that the White House will be all in when it comes to this bill. However, that was not the case.
They have 5 to 6 individuals with AK-47s. Request permission to engage.
It's April 2010. And this video depicting what looks like a war crime goes around the world.
Come on. Oh yeah, look at that, right through the windshield.
11 people killed by a US helicopter in Iraq, including 2 journalists. Secret material obtained by Wikileaks, the organisation run by this man, Julian Assange.
Now the man at the centre of it all says he's fighting for his life, extraordinarily, in this British court. He says he's the victim of a conspiracy to punish him for exposing US crimes.
Julian Assange set up Wikileaks in 2006. He wanted to expose secrets he and others believed should be in the public domain.
I was a famous teenage computer hacker in Australia, and I've been reading generals' emails since I was 17.
It was his communications and relationship with a soldier in Iraq that turned him and Wikileaks into a household name. That soldier downloaded an absolute trove of US secrets and sent them to Julian Assange. Most of the leaks were highly classified, and some arguably endangered lives.
Julian Assange wants his case to be about free speech and journalism, but of course journalists can also commit crimes, and both the US and the UK have laws that protect national security secrets. So the primary legal question for the British judges is whether his leaks crossed the line into hacking and disclosed secrets, and also endangered lives.
Now, before I share with you guys what White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre had to say about this, all I ask is that you take 1 second, hit the like button for the video, and I want to thank you guys so much for always sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter. But now, here's Karine Jean-Pierre from the White House.
About press freedom, our government appears to be closer to potentially extraditing Julian Assange. Press freedom groups say that the case threatens to criminalize our profession. So I'm wondering what the White House's thinking is regarding that matter and the potential threat to press freedom. Does the White House have a stance on the pending federal press shield legislation that passed the House and that Senator Schumer told me he hopes reaches President Biden's desk this year?
You're talking about the Press Act more specifically. Yes. Look, and I've said this many times. I said this last week, where journalism is not a crime. We've been very clear about that. As it relates to this particular legislation, I haven't reviewed it, would have to talk to our Office of Leg Affairs on that particular legislation. But I do want to say back in October of 2022, the Justice Department codified a policy to ban subpoenas of journalist records. The President strongly supports the right of free and independent press. That is something that the President talked about when he was at the Gridiron. The President talked about this at the last White House Correspondents' Dinner. He's been very consistent about this, and I'll just quote him for a second. "A free press is a pillar of any free society, and while we may not always agree with certain coverage or admire it, we do admire the courage of the free press. Journalism, again, is not a crime."
Before moving on, just to confirm, no stance yet on the Press Act that you're aware of. In the Assange matter, is there concern about that.
I don't have much more to share besides what I just laid out here, so I would just leave it as what I just stated to you.
In prison 5 years.
I understand. I heard the question. I'm just not going to go beyond from what I just stated.
So she knows that Assange has been in prison for half a decade and that the president believes in a free press. So why is Assange not a free man? That's what many critics are asking, because this bill would be perfect for journalists. How else are they supposed to deliver the truth to the people if they themselves are not protected? It also calls into question the Twitter files. We know that the federal government was in direct communication with Twitter and other social media platforms to silence particular individuals. We know that for a fact because multiple personalities were suppressed during that period. Critics argue that only those who are against the narrative of the White House were silenced. Those who push out their message are pretty much given a free pass. The comments from Jean-Pierre led to a tweet from Edward Snowden, a tweet that basically warns the American public. He says that you can be sure that if the president of the United States won't say if he supports a bill protecting the free press, which is the easiest sort of win you can get in politics, there is a reason for that. And it's a reason that should worry you. Now again, alarming stuff that's coming out here, guys. It has many analysts asking if something big will happen once we step foot into the 2024 presidential elections. Now I know that the president's political rival is already facing a couple of different challenges before we even get to November. You've got Jack Smith, DA Fani Willis, Alvin Bragg, and even AG Letitia James. Different individuals who are supposedly after Donald Trump in hopes of interfering with the 2024 elections. At least that's what the former president is alluding to. Now, while that's up for debate, many supporters of Donald Trump believe that this is absolutely spot on. This now brings me to censorship and how it's possibly going to affect the very platform that we're on right now. In a blog late last year, YouTube confirmed that they will be supporting the 2024 presidential elections. I know support is a very broad term, but here's how they've defined it. In the post, they stated that they would elevate high quality election content. Or in other words, they're going to switch up the YouTube algorithm. It's kind of confusing because they clearly state that they're going to give viewers both sides of the story. This means that it is possible that the coverage and algorithm would be balanced out between Trump and Biden. However, this is very questionable because of another blog post from 2019. In this post, they talk about the 4 R's. This means remove, raise, reward, and reduce. Remove is basically them removing any content that they feel violates their policy. Reduce is to stop the spread of content that brushes up against that policy line. And then we have raise and reward. The raise part is connected to them altering the algorithm to give authoritative voices, quote unquote authoritative voices, a bump in views whenever people are looking for news and information. The term authoritative is kind of questionable because they're not telling us how they make that judgment for who would be deemed to be authoritative. And lastly, they would reward trusted content creators again with the use of the YouTube algorithm. So this means that they're going to be directing traffic to these authoritative and trusted voices. Now, when was the last time that YouTube had this in place where it was obvious that they were manipulating the algorithm? That's right, the pandemic. The same case with Twitter before Elon Musk got there. Experts who were defiant about how the entire virus got out were silenced. The same thing was done when it came to vaccination hesitancy. And the same thing can be said for other social media platforms, which begs the question, what's the play for the 2024 presidential elections? What message will be amplified and what message will be silenced? Do you guys have any guesses as to what's going to happen? Now, for myself, I'm going to do my best to keep you guys informed and up to date on everything that's going on. And before I go, I just want to thank y'all for hitting the like button. Thank you, as always, for sharing these videos out, especially this one, because it's likely to be suppressed. And I'll see you guys on the next one.